I didn't have anyone to, or taking care of me when I was irresponsible in high school and didn't want to go home, or surprising me with gifts at Christmas. And thank you for being welcoming to my dad, who's here in the back with the camera up. Thank you for making me laugh and smile, whether it's when we're out at trivia and she's saving me and on questions we never would have ever guessed, or running and hiding behind the couch while watching the movie Life, or playing around with Ozzy every morning. I've never seen a dog so happy to see someone. Thank you for doing the crossword puzzle with me on Sundays when I was staying there, and then in the pandemic when I couldn't be there, we did it on FaceTime every Sunday. She knew all the words, and she would catch me when I was making them up. And she taught me a lot of new words, and she also taught me that orange marmalade is the best topping for toast. She helps me find a lot of the small joys in life. Thank you for reminding me of my own strengths when the world has brought me down, and reminding me that we can and all have survived all of our worst days. Thank you for raising the most incredible woman I've ever met, someone who checks in on me when I'm low and when I'm having high moments. Who flies across the country to see me and shows up in the smallest moments of life. Someone who's with me every step of the way through all my hard times, and I'll be there for you. And someone who lets me be me in every phase of life. Someone I'm so lucky to call my sister. Jane, you've changed my life in so many ways. Not just by helping me, but teaching me how to be so wonderful and giving to others and giving to myself. You've given me so much love and support without expecting anything in return. I'll love and appreciate you and your family till the end of time. And I could keep thanking her forever and ever, and those thank yous will continue to grow, even as she's watching over us. Hopefully up there with my mom and my grandma. And let's see, they all have popcorn and wine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next person I want to bring up, I've already mentioned before, is Jane Dorrel. Are you here, Jane? Where'd she go? There she is. I met Jane at the Unitarian Church before I met Jane. She was my first Jane. We had a great relationship and friendship with her. And Jane helped me so much in my life. I love you, Jane. I love you. Jane is a incredible woman. She's a great grandmother. She does everything. She's an amazing woman. And after the event, after the thing is over, anybody wants to say a few words, Jane will record it. So, is that okay, Jane? Take it away, Jane. Two Janes. I have two Janes.
If you don't want to be recorded because you might be on an FBI file, let me know. And we'll cut you off. My passion is video, and I'm really happy to be here and share in that responsibility. I was involved with a little group, a very powerful group. I think Teresa was involved before I met Frank in Peacemakers. And I had been involved with them for about a year and a half when I met Frank. It happened that I went to USC. I have a master's in gerontology, just for your information. That I got, and Frank happened to be working at USC about the same time I was working on my master's, and had a very interesting job. And but we didn't meet there, we met at the Unitarian Church that I was also at the then. And I think before I met him, he got in this little group started really a singles group of older singles in our 30s and early 40s. And I met him in 1982, and I think I fell in love as soon as I met him. He was such a funny guy, good sense of humor, loved music, a musician. He sat down and played the piano and the guitar and sang to me, and we had so much fun, and he was coordinating really events for this singles group in the Unitarian Church, and he loves to plan parties, obviously, and so we had lots of fun things happen through that group. But we actually dated for a while and got pretty close. And I appreciate those years with him, or a year and a half or so, but then Jane entered the scene. And we didn't really overlap. It was like, okay, that's done, on to the other Jane. But I liked her as much as he did, so I knew what was coming when she walked in the room. You know, love at first sight really does happen, and with good reason, you know, in the case of Jane and Frank. She was not involved with the peace movement. I think she just fell in love with Frank. And because of her love, supported his move into the peace movement. And I think that's amazing, actually, because she made it possible for him to do his passion. Up until then, I was in the video back then too, but up until then, when he discovered what was going on in the background on behalf of the United States in this world, he couldn't stop telling people about it. Wake up, people, wake up. And pretty soon people were, if they saw him coming, they'd cross the street to avoid him. And he tried to tell individuals the story and wake them up, wake them up. And I said, you can't just tell every individual you come to. You've got to video your story, get it down so that more people can look at it when they're ready for it, you know. And anyway, I feel like I really helped encourage him to get more refined in his work, more effective, and have more self-confidence, because he was really getting beaten down by people who would not listen. Because we all know that was 30, 40 years ago. Jesus, we're still doing it. But thank God for Jane coming on the scene and really supporting him. I never stopped loving him, but I was very careful never to interfere in their love relationship or marriage. And I appreciate continuing to be able to be friends. I disappeared for a little while, had a little mother life go on for a while, and then came back in the 90s, and I was glad I got welcomed back into their fold. And my kids, my granddaughter Sarah kind of befriended Emily too, and they became friends, and it was so much fun. I got pictures of them, you know, playing together, being together. So our families kind of commingled, let's say, in a family kind of way. And they say that you tend to get more emotional as you get older, but I don't believe that, obviously. It's really hard talking about her not being here, because I just expect her to be right over there, you know, in her calm way, keeping us all calm. So I think that's about all I want to say, but I have a good friend of ours that kind of grew up with us in the singles group. Diane Monteith, who couldn't be here. I have her letter that she wrote. And she kind of stole my thunder and some of the stuff that she wrote, but she actually did it in a better way than I probably could have, so I'm going to read it. First, my memories of Jane. I'd say that Jane was a smart, courageous, loving, and beautiful woman with an unbelievable smile, as we all recognize. I will miss the special times we had together. We celebrated birthdays or just went out for fun dinners. During our discussions, Jane was so positive and often the voice of reason, for sure. We met in the early 80s at the Unitarian Church in Santa Monica. Jane was single, but not long after, she and Frank were a couple. Several of us in our 30s and 40s formed an unofficial group called the Middletarians. Terrible name. I was thinking Singletarians, but maybe I don't know. But she remembers better than I do. We had so much fun going to brunch after church and parties at one of our houses on the weekend. This was a special time in our lives. I remember going to the mountains to Bentonville Pines. I think that might have been the weekend he met Jane, actually, or at least latched onto her. As time went on, Frank and Jane got married and had Emmy. She was an adorable baby, has become a beautiful young woman with all the best traits of both her parents. Unfortunately, no, fortunately. She talked and really listened. Jane was the best mom. She listened to what Emmy had to say. I was so impressed by Jane's motherly skills. I agree with that. Of course, she is also, of course, she also, here, there's a typo here, I can't quite figure it out. She is also outgoing, like her dad. Oh, so Emmy's outgoing like her dad. Okay, got it. After a period of over 30 years, we've been friends. Like all of you here today, I will miss Jane greatly. Fortunately, I have many great memories and want to have more, many more with Frank and Emily. And thank you all. I love this group too. I feel like I wish the world could be happy like this. Thank you.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Diane. I talked to her last night. She's in Denver, and she's lived her two doggies. They're about 15, and one of them's sick. She wanted to come so bad, but I told her, you gotta stay with your dogs. She just loves, like we love our dogs. So Diane, so she got, Jane read her letter. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Jane. Our next two women I'm going to introduce is Kathy Sweetman and Rita Ornelas. They worked on my job. They were part of my job. When I drove 200 miles a day for USC, helping to educate people to get their master's degree in engineering, I drove to the military industrial complex. They were to use. And we made friends, and there's others here, or they're not the only two, but I advise them to come up and speak and tell you what it was all about. We still get together. We had dinner with them. They called them the coordinators. And anyway, I'll let them tell you, except I'll just tell you, we love these two and all of our people we met on the job. And Kathy got married to Johnny in our backyard.
So, yes, I'm Kathy, and it's very hard. This is very challenging for me to be up here. I think Jane would understand. I've known Jane for over 35 years, and as Frank was just saying, it was really a life-changing time for me because I was living out, I had moved out here from Michigan, and I just feel so fortunate the day that I transferred within the company at Hughes Aircraft, and Frank walked in one day and said hello, and he made me laugh, and he just, you know, from that point on, a friendship developed, and that's how he was constantly telling me of this beautiful, gorgeous, sweet, intelligent, smart lady that he was trying to date, he was dating, and he was hoping that things would work out. And so it was really that, and all of us too, all the coordinators, were going, yeah, we want to meet this gal, you know. and, you know, Frank, way back then, organized get-togethers, and that's how we all got to meet Jane. And from the moment, everything that everyone has said, she just, that smile, the fun that we had, really their friendship, meeting the two of them and everyone I worked with really was pivotal in my decision to stay in California. And I just needed to meet, you know, just amazing, good-hearted people. And then when I was going through a really tough time in my life, I moved back to Michigan, and Jane and Frank came and visited me there. I mean, how touching, how just shows how kind and loving and just good-heartedness that they have. And then I moved back, and we continued our friendship, and they even, you know, made just one of the most special days of my life, opened up their home and their patio for my wedding to my husband Johnny, and Emmy was our flower girl, and Zach was walking around, and it just made it the most memorable, special day in my life. I just cannot say the impact, how much it means to me, their friendship, their love, her beauty. She inspired me. I mean, everything everyone has said, you know, I just feel like I won the lottery, you know, really, with meeting your family and them bringing me into that. So Jane, I love you dearly. You have such a special place in my heart, and you'll always live there, and I just love and miss you so much.
Okay, so first of all, I keep thinking as I hear everybody talking from the Lone Ranger, like, who was that masked woman? Oh my gosh, Jane. I wrote out my little thing, and it's pretty much exactly what all of you have already said. So because of yours, I'm just going to sort of read it. My name is Rita Ornelas, and I have had the pleasure, the honor, and the fun of knowing Frank and Jane since 1985. In 1984, I was hired by Hughes Aircraft Company to run a technical education center in Fullerton, but then was subsequently asked if I would be interested and willing to work at a new center opening in Pinota Park. I said, sure, why not? Fullerton, Pinota Park, who cares? These centers provided a variety of educational services within the company, but mainly were set up with a fancy system that broadcast daily classes from studios that were at fancy studios in the UIC that delivered graduate courses to the engineers who were working on their graduate degrees, masters and PhDs, so that the engineers didn't have to miss all that work and drive to campus. Well, all this was way before the internet. So in order to get course info and assignments to and from the students and the university, we in Los Angeles County had, drum roll please, the courier man, AKA Big Frank, AKA Frank Law. Frank would come daily, and he would spend anywhere from 10 minutes to how much overtime he had any given day to hang around. So we became friends, really just dear friends, which if you knew each of us, we're like wildly different, so it was always amazing to me what a fabulous human he was and what good friends we became. And eventually, I got to meet Jane. It may have taken 10 minutes to fall in love with Jane. Maybe. I fell in love with the fabulous, beautiful, amazing Jane. And over the years, she only proved more and more to be everything represented in those first 10 minutes of falling in love with her. Now, I know that it's really easy temptation to over-romanticize and overstate emotions after you've lost someone that's important to you, but it's not the issue here, because in Jane's case, it is all true. Because from the moment you met Jane, you knew she was something. You guys have all said it. Not just spectacular, not all flashy and fancy, but very certainly extraordinary. She was an extraordinary human. And darn you guys, I haven't cried up until now. Not only obviously beautiful inside and out, she had an easy, genuine smile that lit up the room and honestly touched you at your heart. She had such a gracious manner, always made you feel seen and welcomed. She had such a genuine spirit about her. One of my very favorite memories is making sure I got to be on Jane's team when we played Trivial Pursuit, because she was so wickedly smart. We were sure to win, and we always did. Every time. But she made me feel smart too. I was not nearly as smart as Jane. I always personally felt secretly that there was something actually magic about Jane. And you guys have all confirmed that. I had the opportunity often to say out loud to her and to those around us that whoever you were, you either wanted to be Jane or be loved by Jane. Well, I love that I felt loved by Jane, and even though I will never be all that Jane was, she gave me a great example for being an extraordinary human being. So thank you, Frank, for being my beautiful friend, for sharing your amazing, beautiful, yummy family with me. I feel out of this universe blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Kathy. I think I might see, is that Kimberly Burke in the back there? That's the third coordinator, Kimberly Burke and Rob. Kimberly, oh, we love you guys. Love you guys. Kimberly's a great artist, and she just, last we saw, like, she whipped, what did you weave? This great carpet for Emily, and she's made these rugs she spends. Anyways, we love you guys. Thank you. Okay. Next, I want to introduce our neighbors who live right behind us. They're our friends, they're our neighbors. We love them so much. And Hal and Heather Fairchild. And a lot of people know Hal, they have their back to me. They are our good friends, not just our neighbors, they're our good friends. Here they are. Oh, Hal and Heather.
Right. I was blessed in 2003, 2004 to purchase a home in Culver City. It just so happened to be next door to Frank and Jane. Took me a few weeks to fix up the house to move in, and in the process of driving by Frank and Jane's house every day, I was struck by their van, which had a an advertisement for his book, Addicted to War, in the window. And he had Veterans for Peace and No More War and all of these progressive bumper stickers all over the van. And I looked at them and I said, these people, those are my kind of people. Because they were progressive and they were seeking peace. So I knocked on their door and I said, hi, I'm your next door neighbor. I just got to get to know you. And I said, Frank, you and I are going to be best friends one day. And it turned out to be true. Because Frank is also a poker player. And Frank and I played poker dozens of times in Hollywood Park and dozens of times in my house in cash games. And I will tell you, even though he will not admit it, Frank is a pretty good poker player. And at all of our home games, he always won. He always went on the winner. But the thing that was most remarkable about Frank and Jane, and I know most of you know this because I recognize some of your faces. How many people here have been to Frank and Jane's house at least once for an event? Raise your hand about it. If you've been there more than once, raise your hand if you've been to his house more than one time. Look at that. Now, how many people have been to your house? You know, all of my two ex-wives, they'd be mad if I had that many people coming to my house. And she's the one that has to clean up. And Jane was always the most gracious hostess. Amen. The most kindest, sweet. I don't even need to tell you how kind and sweet she is. I can't ever imagine her being mad about anything. I guess Frank probably saw her mad at sometimes.
She was once or twice.
I never can imagine her ever being upset. She's just a lovely person, and I want to say that I love Jane. I only regret that we didn't take opportunity to have one last supper with her and Frank, and regret that. But she's always going to be in our hearts. And I want to say, imagine this. I know you're going to say this is true. If everybody in the world were like Frank and Jane, there would be no more war.
I'm a neighbor. I'm the better half of this one, and I met Jane 9 years ago, almost about the time that I met Hannah. And I just want to say that nevermore have I felt like absolutely welcome, and that's something that everyone in here has said. And it's kind of cliche. You know, this is a Phil Spector song, but to know Jane is to love her. Look at all of these people here. And I think that once you really love someone, that you always carry them with you. So Frank and Emily, I mean everyone here. Jane isn't part of us. Jane is just as present as was when she was on this plane. And so I'm very honored. I wish I had as long a time to know her as you all did, but I'm so lucky I had those 9 years. And just to watch her with Frank and Emily and just how fiercely she loved you. I mean, to witness something like that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. So thank you guys for sharing the gift of Jane with all of us.
These are our neighbors. Okay, we're getting close to the end here, but the next people I want to invite up to speak, we met in kindergarten when we went to El Marino. Their daughter was going to El Marino High School. We met them and their daughter, they're here today, Madeline's here today, she got married just recently. And it's Sarah Jo and Chris Forsman, who've been friends with all these years. We have a special relationship with them, and we love them so much, and they've loved us so much. Sarah Jo did visit Jane in the hospital toward the end, and I want to invite them up now to say a few words. Sarah Jo and Chris Forsman.
I feel special to be part of this group today, as I'm sure all of you do as well. I first wanted to share with you a humorous anecdote. Where is he? There he is. Where'd he go? Okay. First, I'm going to share a humorous anecdote showing what a fun bond that Jane and Frank had. One time we were with them, with a few of our friends, and all of a sudden, one of them said a word out of the blue to the other person, and they like knew what they were talking about, but it was like a totally irrelevant word, like, this wasn't the word, but like ostrich or something like that. They worked it into the conversation. Oh, have you seen that ostrich lately? Or something like that. Anyway, I was like, what? Well, it meant I didn't know what it meant, but they knew exactly what it meant. And in that case, they later shared with me that they had spotted an actor. And that was the word they used when they saw an actor. Oh, I wasn't going to say. Jamaica. All of a sudden, I'm like, how did we get to Jamaica from our conversation? But anyway, it was their own private language. It had an impact on me because they could converse without anyone knowing what they were saying. I said here, I don't recall what the word was, but now I do. But it didn't matter. It was a Jane and Frank word. And in thinking about it, I sense it was one of the many magical conversations they had whilst in the midst of others. So if you can recall any time they said some word that didn't quite fit the conversation, you can just imagine what it might have meant. I think what many people have said here today, and I'm agreeing, Jane made it a point to be the supporting act. She always brought out the best of others. When we went to their house for dinner with friends, there was delicious food and great conversation, and we probably played apples to apples. That was fun. She'd ask what you had been doing. She focused on you. She shined her light back onto you. If you went to a gathering at their home, she would help in making the space fit for 1 or 100, or if it was 200, okay, fine, not a problem. She would welcome everyone, making each feel important. When Emily was in theater, Jane was there, supporting Emily and the entire production in any way that she could. Jane supported others and their interests. She was an immensely capable person, but overwhelmingly modest. She didn't require or request the spotlight, and yet she was integral to the action. In her passing, I looked to find a poem. You want to find that perfect one that's going to fit I couldn't find a perfect one. But I found one that somehow it said, "This, I'm the one. And I'm like, really? This you are? And it said, yes. And I think it has to do with her passing. This is from Remembrances Tagore. He's been a favorite of mine since I was in high school. Anyway, it says, "True end is not in the reaching of a limit, but in a completion which is limitless." True end is not in the reaching of a limit, but in the completion which is limitless. And with that thought, I'd like to leave that with you, and even maybe more importantly, may we all learn to be like Jane.
Thanks, Sergio and Chris. I have one last, before Emily comes up, I have one last person we're slipping into the program, and she's a very important person in our life. Her name is Ginny Blades, and her son is named Gavin Blades, who happens to be Emily's boyfriend. And they're more than boyfriends. Gavin spends half his life in our house. We love Gavin, and we love Ginny, and Gavin's brother Grant, and their father Harry. And Ginny, where are you? Here she comes.
I'm going to save it for the video.
Okay, she's going to save it for the video. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for everything, Jenny. We're already in-laws. They're not officially married yet, but I asked him, "Well, you want to get married in our backyard?" And he says, "No, it's not big enough." So this is our last speaker tonight before Dennis closes with the song, and we'll go to the reception, and people can come and talk with everything. But I'm going to now introduce my daughter, our daughter, Emily Kate Dorrel.
Thank you all so much for being here. I would go up there, but I want to be here with my dad. And I mean, there's not many things I could say that haven't already been said. I'm so glad my mom has had such an influence on so many lives. I mean, she's had a huge influence on my life, but I might be a little biased. But I tried writing a little something, and it doesn't even come close to what my mom fully deserved, because I'm going to spend my whole life trying to make it up to my mom. Not make it up, but I'm going to spend my life trying to honor my mom. And so one little speech in one day like this isn't enough, but it's a start. So words cannot adequately capture my love and my special relationship and dedication and devotion to my mom, but I'm going to try. Having Jane as my mother, being able to spend 28 years navigating life with her by my side, has been the single greatest privilege of my entire life and will forever be. I woke up every single day excited to see my mom. I lived with my parents for most of my life and all through the pandemic, and I was legitimately excited to get up in the morning and to go see my mom, to see how excited she was to see me. Because as many people have said, she makes you feel special. She shines her light on other people. And she was the center of my world, and I know the center of my dad's world, but she also never ever made me feel like I was anything less than the center of her universe. And that's who she was as a mom. I've never had an advocate as fierce and as strong as my mom. She would do anything for me. That I have absolutely no doubt. She did everything for me. And people have already talked about her ability to be present and her calming aura, I guess, and vibe. But I also wanted to mention something that I don't think anyone's talked about today, which is the spirit that she brought to her battle with cancer, particularly the last 11 years. Because I was a mess constantly. I was a complete mess. I was breaking down all the time, worrying about my mom, because she's the most important person in my life. And my mother, the one who's going through chemotherapy, the one who's getting fluid removed from her abdomen, the one who's in and out of hospitals, was my rock. She was my support, even as she was struggling with one of the most rigorous and heartbreaking things. And so she was there for me, and I think that just is a testament to who she was and is forever as a human. So the spirit she had that last, always, but also just in the last decade, of being positive, being hopeful, of focusing on the positive in life. My dad and I share, I think, we can be sometimes doomsdayers sometimes, and my mom was always the one to see the bright side, to see the silver lining, to appreciate the beauty of like the smallest little things in life. And that's what I hope to continue on, and living my life by that. Because even in her last days, she would be so excited when I brought her flowers, because it just made the room smell better. And in January, when she was in the hospital, she would tell me how she loved the tree right outside her hospital room because it made her happy every day. And that was just my mom. Again, this does not even begin to cover the person she was. And I've already cried like for 5 hours today, so I'm a little dried out, but thank you all for being here and for knowing my mom, loving my mom, and taking the time to listen to my father talk on and on and on. So I'll leave it there because I know it's been a long program. But thank you all so much for being here. It really means the world to all of us.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to send everybody the link to watch that video because on your own computer, it's bigger. You can see it there. There's a picture in there of Jane and Chrissy and Peter and Litzy. They're on a boat or something. It's when they're 15 years old or whatever, and it looks exactly like him. And when we all saw that picture, it's like they photoshopped him in there in the picture. But before Dennis is going to play the song, We Are All One, and then Janet will have the closing word. We'll go to the reception and eat and talk. I can't acknowledge everybody here. I'm sorry. I do acknowledge you all here, but there's just two people I just have to say a special hello to, and that's Sandra and Euless Sunshine Williams, who are back here. And they're here today, and they're our special friends. We love you so much. I'm so glad you're here. And we used to be, like some of the others, we used to get together for dinner for them all the time. And I knew Euless for 3 years before I found out from somebody else. He was an Olympic gold medal champion. In 1964, he was the fastest man in the world at 400 meters, and they won his relay team. They set the world record. And the only reason he didn't win that year is because he had been injured. And Sandra, the two of you, we love you so much. I just want to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge everybody else here. I will say one other thing about the car. Hal was talking about my van, Odyssey, with all the stickers on it. It's still in use. Julie and Paulie are driving around. Who's filming the video? They drive it around, and I want to give you more books because they're driving van around. Okay, so now Dennis will sing his final song, and then Janet will do the closing word, and then I'll stop talking, and we can go out and eat some all this great food Emily ordered. Dennis.
I can see that we will all die from the silent ashes of our lives. Planet Earth, painted gray, separate colors fade away. Read the writing on the wall. The sun beats hot over the home cars. We're all one, we are one, we're all one. We're all one, we are one. We're all one, we are one, we're all one. We're all one, we are one. On African countryside. Dancing round the fire bright, the holy war does subside. Oh, the truth to our faith, we're all one tribe. Planet Earth, painted blue, don't you know that it is true? See the signs we all see by the sons of daughters will. We're all one, we are one, we are all one. We're all one, we are one. We're all one, we are one, we are all one. to this place. Planet Earth, painted gray, there's nothing for you and I to say. Know the future, it is ours. Give me your heart and I will give you a star. We're all one, we are one, we are all one. We're all one, we are one. We're all one, we are one, we are all one. We're all one, we are one. We're all one, we are one, we're all one. We're all one, we are one. We're all one, we are one, we are all one. We're all one, we are one. We're all one, we are one, we are all one.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I could listen to Dennis all day. Let us pray. Loving Creator, we thank you for the gift of life. Today we give thanks for the great company of all those who have finished this life and now rest in the arms of the universe. We give thanks for those who are dear to us, especially for Jane. We give thanks for the gift of family and friends. Together we mourn the loss of precious Jane. To all of us who we miss, grant your peace. Let your perpetual light shine upon all of us. Amen, and blessed be. Whatever you may believe about life beyond death, know this. Jane is at peace. From the troubles and the ailments of this world, she is at peace. And her spirit lives on, and she will live on in your memories and in the lives of all of us and in the very air that we breathe. So now we release Jane's physical body, and we commend her spirit to those who would choose to be keepers of her memory. We say goodbye to Jane. You are no longer here physically with us, but will always be a part of us still. You are all welcome to partake of some of the favorite food of Jane in the fellowship hall, or you can stop by and greet the family who will be in the courtyard, or you can share your memories on video with Jane Dorrel. Go in peace.